Hello everyone, I am April and I'll be talking about names today, specifically middle names. So we will discuss about Filipino, US, and Korean names. Alright, so let's start with Filipino names since I am a Filipino. So for you to understand why Filipino names have a combination of English and Spanish, let's touch a little bit of our history. Back in November 1521, Ferdinand Magellan, who was a Spaniard, came to the Philippines with a plan of colonizing it, invading it, and make it his territory for years and years. Under his rules, he changed the school curriculum, so schools used Spanish, and if you could not speak the language at that time, you would get whipped, according to my aunt and uncle's stories. Catholic was also introduced. You have to believe in Catholic or die. You have to accept it. This is the reason why most of the Filipinos are Catholic. Although Islam and other Christians and other different denominations exist, the majority of the population in the Philippines is Catholic. We ended up being under the Spaniards' colonization for 330 years to be exact, until the Americans helped us gain back our independence. So in 1946, we were finally free from the Spaniards' regime. However, our last names remained the same. So back in the middle names. Let us use my name as an example. My name is Marapro, which is in English. I was born in April. So my dad wanted to put April in my name, which is very common in the Philippines. We do that. Or we combine a syllable from a father and syllable from a mother into another name for their kid. The new generation use English in our names now, but for our aunts and uncles back in the days, their names are in Spanish, like Servanda, Esperanza, Bienvenido. My mom is Cecilia, my dad is Orlando. Our middle names and last names are in Spanish. My middle name is Segura. And by middle name, I mean the maiden name or my mom's last name before she got married to my dad. Why am I emphasizing this right now? I am emphasizing this because this is not the case in the US and other countries with a middle name, which will be discussed in a little bit. So we write our middle names in initial with a period unless our full name is required. My last name is Grabador, which I believe and according to Google is Portuguese, which means engraver or recorder. That's weird.
Nani?
It's supposed to be Spanish, but they're kind of related. Anyway, so give a name, middle name, which is our mom's maiden name, and then our last name. Now, how is it different with the US name system? Let's find out. Middle name in the US is quite different from the Filipino name system. All of my American friends here in Korea who are in the military all have two names. For instance, my husband's name is Mark Daniel Folkers. So on his card, it is always written as Mark D. And then Folkers, his last name. And I've always thought, oh, maybe Daniel was his mom's last name before she got married to his dad, just like how it is in the Philippines. But that is not how it is. When I researched, it is just basically an additional to their first name. So there are two given names. Some prefer to be called by their middle name as they grow older, casually when they meet new people. But the first name is what is mainly used. Middle names began to find favor among wealthy extended families in the late 1700s. Aristocratic families increasingly began giving their children two names, so that by the time of the Revolution, a quite small but traceable number of Southerners carried middle names, mainly those from upper class families. But nowadays, it doesn't matter, you're poor, you're rich, you're in the middle class, Almost all Americans have middle names, right? Now let's talk about Korean names. A Korean name in the modern era typically consists of a last name followed by a given name, with no middle names, you guys, no middle name. A number of Korean terms for names exist. For full name, we say Seongmyeong. Song is the last name, and then Myeong is the first name. And then Songham, which is another formal way of the term name. Irim is informal and it is commonly used. In a Korean name, when a Korean name is written in Hangul, there is no space between the surname or the last name and the given name. Their last names consist of only one syllable, such as Kim, Park, Lee, and their first names consist of two syllables. For instance, Kim Jong-un. Kim is the last name, Jong-un is the first name. So as a teacher here in South Korea, I had a hard time memorizing my students' names since they are very syllabic and all have three syllables and they kind of sound the same. But they all have English names in order for the teachers to remember them quickly. It's weird because you can be around people here with the same last name as you if you're a Korean, but you are totally not related. In the Philippines, we are usually relatives if we have the same last name. Either first degree cousin, second degree, even very far, but there is always a connection, right? But that's not the case in South Korea. Here, you can be Kim, and then there's another Kim, and you'll be like, oh, which Kim are you? Oh, I'm Seoul Kim. Oh, I'm Jeollado Kim or Busan Kim, something like that. Yeah, but they are not related. Also here, if you get married, the women do not use their husband's last name. Isn't it weird? So if you have children, you as a mom will have a totally different last name because your kids will carry their father's last name, but not you. So when I was married to a Korean man, that was my first marriage, I kept my last name. And my children are Che Johan, Che Joseph. I'm still a grabador. Also, all their names have the equivalent Hanja writing, which is the language that Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans used back in the days. So all of them can understand Hanja. However, since my children's names are derived from the Bible, which are Johann or John and Joseph or Joseph, their names do not have an equivalent Hanja name. So that is all for today. Now, if you want to know how to write your name in Hangul or in Korean characters, let me know in the comments below so I can help you out because I read and write Korean. And don't forget to subscribe and like. I will be discussing about Korean, Filipino, American culture, and languages here. I will be teaching words daily in order for you to learn new words. Thank you. Bye.